Okay.
Okay. You're saying they're brainwashing. Okay, you're saying these people that are experts in brainwashing is using the Department of Education to brainwash our children.
Yes.
What are they after? Why are they doing it?
Well, if you want to move a country from a free individualistic economy,
Which we have.
yes, or had,
okay.
to a planned economy, you have to do it through the schools. You have to dumb down and brainwash, change the attitudes and values. You have to completely, social engineering has to go on constantly, and many teachers know what I'm talking about. And people are going to say, well, when did this start? And who on earth ever did this? Why would a plan like that be allowed to be carried out?
That's right.
Well, then you have to go back to 1934, which I will do, and we have to go to the three-pronged fork, okay? So I do think that the watershed year, although you can go back to the early part of the century when the Rockefeller Foundation and the Carnegie Corporation were deeply involved in education, and that it was decided then that Carnegie would deal with the international part and Rockefeller domestic. But then we moved on to 1934, and this was after World War I, and there were these educators, many of them going back and forth to Russia, very admiring of the new system in Russia, the communistic system. And they wanted to put it in here in the United States. And so the Carnegie Corporation, that had always been involved in, trying to get us into world government after the League of Nations and all in 1917, they still had this goal. And of course, world government will be communism. I mean, it's really international socialism. That's what Lenin called it. So they've always wanted this. And
the Department of Education today is going along with that?
Yes, absolutely, yes. And so in 1934, the Carnegie Corporation produced, it took 4 years, they commissioned the American Historical Association to put together a study of the social studies. And they came up with lots of volumes, but I have one little volume, Conclusions and Recommendations for the Social Studies. And basically that little one is an original book. I wish I'd brought it with me. Too bad, but I don't even dare let it out of the house. It's so important. It called for changing the United States through the schools from a free individualistic economy to a socialist, collectivized, planned economy in the New World Order.
It says that in the book?
Yes.
And that book was written when?
In 1934.
By who?
It was the Carnegie Corporation paid for it. The American Historical Association put it together. And
can people get that book in the library?
No.
No? No?
No, they can't. But I have quotes in my book, from it. But from that time on, Carnegie Corporation consistently, without any hesitation whatsoever, didn't run into any obstruction, poured its money, its tax-exempt money, which we make possible for them to have, into changing American education. They funded well, let's go on to the 1945. They're deeply involved. Alger Hiss was deeply involved with the Carnegie Corporation. He was a accused Soviet agent. They didn't get him on it, but they got him on libel. But most people do think that Alger Hiss was a Soviet agent. He was Carnegie. And they were very instrumental in getting the Elementary and Secondary Education Act passed, which, as I said before, changed education from knowledge, content-based, academic, to performance-based behavior. And from that time on, because that was necessary for what we're looking at now with school to work agenda is the planned economy is performance-based.
So they're training workers.
They're training
not thinkers, not leaders.
Exactly. So Carnegie, after that study, then we went to the world. We went into the United Nations, which of course was essential, and then at that time, you had a general, Buck Chisholm, a Canadian general psychiatrist, who was a very close friend of Alger Hiss's. And he gave a speech in 1945 to the World Health Organization, which basically recommended getting rid of the conscience.
Wow.
Yes. And he said we would do it through the schools. We would retrain the teachers to be little psychiatrists. And what happened was that the average American educator at that time was not about, in 1945, to even listen to something like that.
Right.
And so nothing happened until the watershed year, again, another watershed year, 1965, when the Elementary and Secondary Education Act passed, and we moved then from academics to behavior change. And the behavior science teacher education program was funded.
But how did Congress allow that to happen?
Well, you'll see in the book, John Ashbrook, who died, unfortunately, Congressman Ashbrook, who I dedicated the book to, he spelled it all out. He told the whole Congress exactly what it was. He said it is an international system they're looking at. They're going to change the behavior of the children. They're going to change the teachers' training. They're going to do everything. He told them everything.
And they didn't believe him?
No, they just let, well, you know what goes on.
Yes, I
It's
do.
still going on, right? So anyway, they passed that in 1965. The teachers were retrained. All of these horrible programs, right? Mm-hmm. By 1968, the money had gone into all of these programs to get rid of the conscience, basically. Drug ed, all these programs, parents, really, when you see education hanging on the end of drug education, sex education, critical thinking education, red flag. You don't have reading education, writing education, math education, or we didn't used to. When you see education hanging on the end of something, except for driver's ed, which I think is probably pretty neutral, that means watch it. Because those programs, I've never seen one of those programs that was based on absolutes, right and wrong.